This episode is sponsored by Sage House. Here on The Mothers, we talk to a lot of high-performing parents, and a theme comes up again and again. We all need help, but no one knows how to ask for it, especially when it comes to the myriad of things that make up the mental load. The dentist appointments, the kids' pants that suddenly don't fit, the gymnastics enrollment window that closes in 6 minutes, the dry cleaning someone needs to get, and the dinner someone has to make. All the things that aren't quite childcare and aren't cleaning and take up roughly 27% of our brains. Turns out what we need is a house manager, because the mental load is what they do. And Sage House will help you find the perfect one. They place exceptional household support across the US and Canada, and they even train nannies to step into house manager roles as your kids get older. They're also on a mission to destigmatize this kind of support. We judge ourselves so harshly for leveraging support if able. And what's so nice about Sage House, and what I really connected to about their brand, is that they finally make it feel logical, practical, necessary. I don't know, like working with a physical therapist to recover from surgery, or partnering with a financial advisor. We don't have to do it all alone. It's also founded by a mother of 3 who obviously gets it. And you'll hear an interview with her in a future episode. But until then, visit sagehouse.com. That's Sagehouse, SAGEHAUS.com. And finally cross the invisible load off your list. I'm Sara Brown, and this is The Mothers, real conversations with leaders, creators, and thinkers about who we are, what we want, and how we build meaningful lives alongside motherhood. Hello, friends. We are officially in the land of 2026, and I'm even recording this intro in the land of 2026. I have to say, it's a strange place over here, far from a fresh start or a new chapter on the micro and macro levels, unfortunately. I try to resist the idea of January 1st being a day to start a new race. It's more of an exhale now. We're here. Let's see what comes and what we want to make of it. I don't really do resolutions anymore, and I didn't intend to come up with an intention, or a word for the year, but one did come to me out of the blue, truly. And that word is yet. As I've shared on this podcast and in more detail in my sometimes too vulnerable diatribes on LinkedIn, which will soon find their place on Substack, I'm someone who has insanely outsized and irrational expectations for myself. You would think that means I believe I'm capable of incredible things, but no. It means I don't trust that I could accept or even live with myself if I'm anything less than the best. And what's even more sinister is that if I expect impossible things of myself, I get to live in this purgatory of never being able to achieve them, but also never being able to or having to accept my current circumstances. I'll work endlessly to be enough in the future and never accept myself as enough in the now. Fucked up, right? There are many things wrong with this, obviously, and thankfully I'm aware of it. But on a day-to-day basis, it means that when I don't know how to do something, or if there's something not going exactly as I'd hoped, or if our audience isn't growing the way I expected, or a sponsor or a guest says no, I panic because I think this is a final verdict. I've finally been discovered for the average mediocre person that I am. And I don't immediately trust myself to make it better. So then there's this whole spiral to pull myself back into a positive headspace. So with that context, my word for 2026 is yet, as in not yet. Something might not be working yet. We don't have 10,000 listeners yet. We don't have big box sponsors yet. I haven't launched a Substack yet. It can also work as an and yet to bring some positivity back into a way of thinking. The world is horrible and dark and divided and vitriolic and relentless. And yet, New York City just took steps to become the first city in the United States to provide free, universal childcare. So there you have it. And I'm not done yet. Today, we have a guest with energy and enthusiasm I can only dream of. Dr. Allison Mell is a pediatric physical therapist and mom of 4, 2 boys, 2 girls, including a set of twins. She is the co-founder of the Tots, which, like many of our guests, she launched in the middle of the chaos of 4 children as a response to needing more control of her work life and seeing an opportunity to help parents concerned about their child's development in a more accessible way. The Tots Spot supports virtual consults and therapy programs for families around the world. It's become a particular lifeline for parents who have a gut sense that something might be off about their child, but haven't found someone to really hear their concerns or, frankly, take them seriously. The fact that the Tots Spot has grown so quickly, sure, might be a symptom of the anxiety era that many parents are in, overly concerned about developmental milestones and too quick to compare their kids to others in the playground. But I'd like to go deeper and trust parents to know their kids, and try to put myself in the shoes of a parent who truly does sense something isn't quite right, but is essentially being dismissed within what is often a 12-minute, 6-month appointment with a pediatrician. Unfortunately, this is the state of healthcare in America. And that's where Allison comes in. She'll sit with concerned parents, spend meaningful time with their kids, and in doing so, she can validate their concerns with care and support them in finding solutions for their kids if they are needed. Sometimes parents just need to be heard. Sometimes they just need to be trusted. And yes, sometimes their kids need intervention too. And she can help. Allison and I get into practical versus passion-based careers, finding a profession that could work with a big family, which she always wanted. The early failures of Tots on Target that ultimately led to essential pivots, and how to find some semblance of balance across a big family and a demanding career. It's a conversation about building from what you know, hearing the feedback, following your instincts, and trusting yourself, like a mother. So please enjoy my conversation with Dr. Allison Mell. My first most important question. Dr. Allison, Dr. Mell?
Or Allison.
Allison?
Yeah.
AM?
I'm very cash.
I appreciate it. I sensed, which is great.
Yeah.
Me too. This is all supposed to be relatively casual. Or more than relatively.
Yeah.
Yes. And thank you so much for joining this. I'm very excited. I feel like I have my personal experience around pediatric PT and related things with my kids, but also just very curious about your path to launching this.
Yes, absolutely. How old are your kids?
My kids are pop quiz. Okay. You have 4. So your pop quiz is harder than mine. 11-year-old boy, 9-year-old girl, 4-year-old girl.
Got it. Okay.
So straddling some age groups, but where are yours? How old are they?
So I have twin 14-year-olds. They're in 9th grade. And then I have a 12-year-old boy. So they're boy, girl, a 12-year-old boy and a 9-year-old girl.
So you had twins first.
Yes.
I saw this on your website about the twins. That's crazy.
I always wanted 4. So, you
always wanted 4. How tell me more. How come?
I was one of 4 and I just wanted a bigger family and 4 just was that's my number. That's it. And my husband wanted 2. And so I would say we compromised and we had 4.
By only having 3, essentially. 3 experiences, 4 kids.
Exactly. I don't know if I would have gotten my 4th that I had. I don't know which made it harder, having 2 at the same time or making it easier that I had 2 at the same time. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know. I've never had the twins, obviously, but I always think better to have that first because you don't know anything else.
I think so. I think so. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll let you know in my old age.
Yeah, totally. So where are you in the 4 in your birth order? I'm curious.
I'm the oldest.
There we go.
Yeah.
We get so many oldest on this show.
Are you?
And I feel like I'm an oldest. My husband's an oldest. I feel like there is just we carry things differently.
There's something different about oldest for sure. There just is. There just is.
Yes.
It's an interesting case study to be every time you talk to somebody, be are you an oldest? And
yes,
learn about their birth order and be look for those patterns.
It makes such a. I feel like not to totally psychoanalyze myself, but very self-punishing, incredibly high expectations. Driven. My point of reference has always been adults older than me that I should be able to hang with. And I feel like I just haven't been able to shake that. Whereas the younger ones, their point of reference is more a peer.
It's so true. And I think expectations, I even look at the way I parented my oldest versus my youngest. And I think I was harsher is the wrong word, but like my expectations of them as like 2-year-olds or 3 years was like, come on guys, like you need to be old because now I have another one. And I like, you need them to be older, even though they're not. And then by the time I got to my youngest, I'm like, you're a baby. Like, why am I expecting anything from you at all? And like, I literally look at myself and like today she had a quiz on something. Like, she was like nervous because and I'm like, it's okay. It doesn't matter. Whatever you get is fine. And I'm like, oh my God, she's the youngest. Like, I'm just like, whatever. It's fine. I love you no matter what.
Oh my God,
like,
I know.
Right?
I've also created a monster because our youngest, I give in. I'm trying to catch myself, but I think because it's so disruptive to the whole team, if the youngest is out of sorts, that I'm more inclined to just be like, whatever, just like have another piece of candy. Like, like just give in to whatever it is.
I'm like,
yes. Yes. Oh my God. Well, this is amazing.
We looked at our parenting journeys together another time, right? And like,
they will come up like, now too.
Have a group therapy session. Like, how are we parenting your children? Are we doing
totally.
Yeah.
Well, amazing. I like where we love to start here is getting a sense of how you kind of get into where we are today. Sure. And you know, launching your own thing. We end up talking to a lot of entrepreneurs, which is great because I think that the establishment is like a hard place for mothers to find themselves and make an impact and like live their full lives together. But so I love these entrepreneurial stories. But I would love to just hear how like a little bit of your life story, your life journey, where we began. Obviously, oldest of 4, I'm sure has something to do with where we are today. But if you could look back and sort of give a sense of how we got to Allison running her own business, 4 kids.
Yeah. So interesting.
Where would you start?
If I really think of like where that all began, there's definitely a mixture of like me internally, my personality, and definitely some of my parents' direction and like how they kind of always encouraged me in a certain way. So I always had a job. I always like from being a kid, I was a babysitter. I ran, I remember one time, and this was my mom who like got me and my friends all together. I think we were like 10 or 11 years old and we ran a backyard carnival for all the kids in the neighborhood. And like, it was just, there was always like, and like we put flyers and, you know, it's pre-social media. So we had to like put flyers in all the neighborhood mailboxes and we like had a real thing. We got like raffle prizes and all this. And there was always something that I was kind of working on. And then I became a lifeguard and I was always lifeguarding, or I got a secretary job during college breaks. And I taught Sunday schools. I like always had something that I was doing. And when I entered college, my parents were like, okay, you need to pick a career path. You're not going to go into college and just like, you know, go through the like, let me just like love, you know, my college. Like they can you love your college life, but you have to like pick a direction. You could switch that direction, but you have to have a direction.
Yeah.
And coming from their like boomer generation, they were like, healthcare. Healthcare is something that you're always going to have a job in and they're always going to need you. Healthcare.
Yeah. So, wait, were you receptive to this as a kid in college, or were you like?
I was.
Okay.
You know, a lot of it's funny because when I went into college, I actually majored in art history because I really loved I had a passion for like the liberal arts.
Yeah.
And
you're
I
talking
really
to a history and literature major, so I have.
So we connect. And I loved art history. I went to my first art history class, like fill a requirement. Cool. I'm like, I love this. This is like my passion in life. But I was like, what am I going to do with this? Be like a curator? Like, I was like, I don't see myself. It wasn't I had a passion for learning about it, not a passion for like art curation in the gallery. Like I was like, I'm not going to be that, you know?
Good. Yeah.
And I also knew that, you know, it sounds cliche and maybe a little old fashioned, but like my real goal was to be like, I knew I was going to be a mom, you know, like that was like, and I was like, well, then I was like, I'm gonna be a mom. I'm gonna have my 4 kids. And so how am I going to really like, and again, this was a little bit my parents driven. Also, it was like, you have to pick something. I'm Jewish born and bred. And they were like, you have to pick something that you're going to be like a good Jewish mom, you know? So like, you need to be able to like be home with your kids and like go back and forth and, you know, be able to like leave your job and go back to your job. And so, and there is something to that. And again, I know that that's like a little anti-modern, but that was a realistic goal for me of like what I did in my life.
I also would say, I don't know if it's anti-modern. I think
I guess so.
practical. I think you wanted something which was a life that allowed you to have your 4 kids and have a job and not be stretched and absent on all sides of that. I feel like that's
Right.
not that's I don't know. I think that is modern.
I
That's what we're
want
all
it to
trying
be
to
a
figure out how
more,
to do.
yeah, it's a modern message to tell ourselves like choosing what gives you the life that you want, I guess, is the modern goal, right? It's not
Right.
necessarily how, I didn't want to be a lawyer in a law firm. Like I
Yeah.
knew that the career path was going to be like, how do I have a career and have the life and the community life and the parenting life that I really want to have and
Yeah.
marry all those goals together.
Yeah.
And so when I entered into college and I had my passion for art history, but I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Um the therapies, speech OT PT was definitely like the Jewish girl thing to go into. Like a lot of
Really?
yeah. And so bringing a little like the culture end of it too.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna look into PT. And I ended up observing in different in a school setting, in a hospital setting, and I'm like, I could see myself doing this. Like
Mhm.
I could really do it. I didn't realize how much science I had to do to get there. And I was like, oh, like
Mm.
I have to do that much science, like basically a pre-med route. I was like, all right, I'm doing it. I'm
Oh,
committed.
good for you.
I did it,
Yeah,
and I'm like,
obviously,
oh
yes.
wow. So I went down that track and I went into PT school and I really thought I was going to just be a PT in a school setting, right? I was going to work, my part-time hours and I was going to, I started having my kids and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, like this is the perfect life for me. I'm going to be able to do this. And it's so funny because there was a certain point where even like every year I started scaling back more and more of my time
Hmm.
working
Yeah.
because my kids demanded more and more of my time. I
Yeah.
had kids think it was like maybe a year and a half out of graduate school. So I had my twins and then I had all 4 of my kids within 5.5 years.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was a busy young mom. My husband was
Yeah.
traveling a lot and they get sick a lot, like nobody
Yes.
tells you how much your kids, you like know it, but you don't really know it. And
Mm,
like, when you wake up in the morning, they're like,
totally.
my throat hurts and my stomach hurts. You're like, do I go to work or do I go to get that swab test? Like, what am I
Yeah.
doing?
Totally.
And
Yes.
and you're like, okay, but if I get the medication in them now, then they can go to school tomorrow.
Correct.
And so you
I
gotta
do
like,
that calculation all the time. I totally agree.
right?
Yes.
And I'm not one of those moms who's gonna send my kids to daycare sick. Like if
Mhm.
you're, I'm not, I
Sure,
just
me neither.
right. And I'm like, nobody's gonna say, but like I really am like poor baby, like my kid. And so I it was a real struggle. And I felt like even on my part-time schedule, like my goal of a mom like definitely outweighed the,
Mhm.
what, and so every year I was scaling back more and more. And then there was a point that I was like, you know what? Like I want to do more than treating, going in person and treating on a regular basis and, hours, that were very specific. And then I started Tots on Target and it slowly like I didn't even know what the goal originally of
Mhm.
it was. I was like, I want to educate parents. I want to, and social media was like really becoming more of a thing. I know
Right.
that it's like, dating me, but, putting things out and I didn't even know what the business was going to be. And then, took a while to figure that out, what the need out there was.
Yeah. Were you focused on kids in your PT prior or
Yeah,
was okay.
always.
It was always
Always. I
pediatric.
was always
Okay.
doing kids.
Yeah.
I wasn't just focused on babies for a while. I was really doing like school age kids. And I ended up being like, parents don't realize like how much of early development affects their school-based performance.
Mhm.
And so I ended up like, starting with some education in like the school age and then kind of like backtracking until I ended up with like more baby development of
Yeah.
like, no, if we can get in on the baby level,
Yeah.
we can get so much more out of these kids like long term or really
Yeah.
get in there at the foundation. Um, and then I ended up starting my membership, the Tots Spot membership,
Mhm.
and it really services parents around the world and helping their babies meet these developmental milestones. And I really just found this passion of like, I love what I can do. It's not only on my own schedule, which now my kids are a little older and they don't need me as much, even if they are homesick with strep, they can just sit on the couch and they're totally fine.
Yeah.
But it's really, I feel like I'm actually helping more parents on a wider scale in more places where they don't always have access to direct services or even just like the knowledge base or like, where do I go from here? And I'm able to service them. And it's such an amazing accomplishment and a thing that we can do that we weren't even able to do this a few years ago based on all the technology that's come up now that we have access to and parents have access to.
Yeah, totally.
That's
Can
kind
you
of my
take
journey.
me back to that pivot point-ish, which I feel like these always, in retrospect, always seem like, no big deal. But you were saying that you were kind of scaling back as your kids were sort of, what was the age range at that point when you kind of,
when was I scaling? I think it was really after I had my fourth.
Okay.
And I had 4 kids in 5.5 years, and it just, and I did have a part-time babysitter at home. So like the days that I was working, I had help, but I still was needed, right? Like, at least for me, I couldn't walk out the door and just be like, okay, they'll be fine. And my brain was always like, should I have taken them to the doctor? Do they need me? And, I remember one time I had all my 3 big kids. I kind of classify them as my big kids and my youngest, even though
I do that too. Our elders, and then we have the young one.
We call my youngest, and I call them the kids. But we ask me like, are the kids home yet? And I'm like, they're not even that much older than you. It's like a normal age range. But she's like, the kids. But I remember all 3 of them had the flu at the same time. And my babysitter was like holding my baby. And I stayed home from work to like deal with my other thing. I'm like, I can't walk out the door with 3 kids who have the flu and another one. Like, it was just too much. And I just felt very pulled. And I had a very flexible job. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't know how people do it, and they do it, and power to them with an inflexible job. Like, I had a job in the school where if I didn't come on Monday and I came Wednesday instead, like, nobody batted an eye. Like, didn't know. Like, I was a contract therapist. I can come and go when I wanted, but I still had to make up sessions that I missed. If I'm, was out a day, I had to go in another day.
Well, it was just physically be there. It wasn't like a remote.
Yeah, and these kids need services. I can't just not show up. Like, these kids in the school setting need services. That's what their IEP, it's mandated by the state. They are required to get services. So if I'm not there, it's not like I can just check out and be like, okay, well, I missed a day. I'm just not getting paid. I need to make up those sessions. And it just felt I felt like I was becoming more and more depleted by like running in a million directions.
Yeah. So what happened between scaling back, and then some period of time, and then we move into a different stage, kind of where we're like, maybe let's launch a business. How did we go through that inflection? Because I think a lot of people listening are in that inflection point, being like, what's on the other side, or is this the end?
Yeah, I started with a business partner, actually. She was an OT that I worked with at the school. She's no longer part of the business for a variety of reasons. We're still very good friends. But she was we were pregnant with her second, my third. When I just started my school job, we were both pregnant at the same time. So we kind of like went through this journey together, and we were talking together, and we were like, we could do more than this. We could do more. Like, there's more, parents need more information. Here we were in the school setting. We had very little contact with parents. It was just the way the system was set up. It was just like, we weren't part of parent teacher conferences. We didn't we weren't part of that. And so it started with us talking about like, if parents had more information, our own parenting journey, we were like, do parents want more and need more? And then we were both struggling with this like back and forth, school, our kids, school, our work, our kids. And we were like, maybe we could start something. And again, we didn't really know what that was. And so we were like, let's start posting on Instagram. And I didn't even have an Instagram account at that point. Like, I was on Facebook because,
I know. Yes.
I'm like on the border of Gen X millennial. And I'm like, I had a Facebook account, but I didn't even have Instagram. And then she was like, maybe we could just like post pictures of like stuff on Instagram. And I was like, okay. And at first we were starting, it was like blogs. We really didn't know what the business was. That actually took a long time to figure out, like, what is the business plan? And I think part of that is also the technology setup that we have today. We didn't have like 7 years ago. Like, you don't even think how much has changed. That COVID really gave us all the use of Zoom in a very comfortable, easy way that everybody knows how to do now.
Yes.
But like before COVID, people didn't use Zoom. It wasn't a thing.
Oh, totally. No, my in-laws are they're pediatricians, and they talk about how pre-COVID, as horrendous and stressful as it was, it really forced people to move into this like tech-enabled way of delivering medicine for better and for worse, but it normalized the like virtual appointment thing and even got insurance involved, which otherwise hadn't really been. I think insurance was not surprisingly being difficult about covering something like that. So yeah, I totally get it.
It does. And so it took a little while, but a lot of, courses were out there. And so we were looking into that. We actually created a course and it was an epic failure. Failure.
I love the
And so that's also the thing. People are going through the entrepreneurial thing. Like it is a journey. It is a process. There's the whole idea out there of you're going to make money in your sleep. Like you might make a sale while you are sleeping, but you are not just rolling in the money because you are napping all day. Okay. That's not the way this goes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of hard work. And the message, if you listen to a lot of like podcasts and read books and watch Shark Tank, they're going to be like, find what people want and do that. Yeah. And that's very good advice and very hard to act upon. What do people want? And not always do you get the right answers. You sometimes like people will tell you that they want something, but that's not really what they want. It started with a course that was for babies like birth through walking age, but a lot more about like why milestones are important, what's important, and like some tips on how to get there. And we were like, parents want information, they need information, and it flopped for a few reasons. One, I don't think there were enough like active tips to like really like help people in there. And also we realized from our feedback that if parents wanted something to help their babies walk, well, why would they buy a course that's for birth through walking? They feel like they're buying something that's not, that it's too broad for their narrow focus. Even if that would have helped them, they're like, well, why would I pay for a whole course when I only want this liver, Yeah. So it's very hard to figure out what is it that people want. And so after the course really didn't do well, we were like really trying to like figure out what was the next pivot point. I really wanted to start a membership. That was really the direction I was going to go in. Yeah. So we ended up parting ways on good terms and all of that. And I really wanted to take the business in a different direction. And I started the membership and I was like, wow, I hit the spot of what parents want. And there were a number of reasons I found that out. And actually, even when I started it, the people I thought were going to join were not who joined. I spent months and months creating the content for the membership, and it was going to cover everything from like rolling through like kindergarten. I worked on worksheets and I worked on activities that people could do with their 3-year-olds. Nobody joined that was older than walking. Nobody. Okay. I spent months and months and months preparing all this content that was not used at all. Okay. It was people were joining because they wanted their babies to roll, sit, mostly crawl, walk. And they'd been told over and over and over again that they needed to wait and see, that their babies were fine. Everybody does things in their own time. And parents were like, something is not right. My baby's doing something. They're moving funny. They're not moving at all. All the babies around my baby are doing something. And I realized parents who have babies, they're very focused in on what their development looks like. When they're school age, it's more broad. It's, you don't even focus in as much on what specifically they're supposed to be doing with motor milestones. You're not comparing them as much to their peers in a minute way. And parents of babies, they're coming off their pregnancy where they're focused on every week what their baby's supposed to look like, right? Like at the 20-week mark and at the 32-week mark, right? And then you get this baby and you're like, okay, what are they supposed to be doing? And all of a sudden they're not doing everything that your niece and nephew or your older child or your neighbor or the other kids at daycare are doing. And you're like, I don't know, like, is my baby going to be okay? Right? Because you're very like focused in on that. And more parents, and this is what I was told once I started the membership, and I heard this from them, that they went to the pediatrician, they asked for, referrals or what to do. And they were told, it's fine. Don't worry about it. You're fine. Your baby's fine. Don't worry. And they were like, but I am worried. What am I supposed to do? And all of a sudden this membership, like they found this and they were like, okay, well, here's finally somebody that I trust because I've been following this person on Instagram for a while. And they're going to tell me if there's a problem and if there is, what I should do about it. And that was it. I mean, and I've heard this now, not only for people from in the US, but literally worldwide. We've had members from over 70 countries. And this apparently is a worldwide issue. Parenting everywhere looks like this. And medical care is tough. It's a tough thing everywhere for different reasons. Sometimes it's you're in a rural area and you don't have access. Sometimes it's you're the healthcare system in the UK or Australia. Like it could take months to even get on a caseload. And even if you do, you'll see somebody once a month, you know, and that's what you get. And sometimes in the US, you're waiting for a referral from your, you know, so your insurance covers something or, you know, whatever. It's all the different systems that we have globally can impact the way, or even culturally. Sometimes people are more in a rush for their babies to walk because the grandparents said that they have to buy the kid shoes by 12 months. And why isn't your kid needing shoes at 12 months? It's, you know, that's when they bought your first shoes, you know, so there's so many different reasons, but parents want help and they want support.
Yeah. What is your, and I'll admit, I already said this, have pediatrician in-laws. I'm curious. So what is going on when the doctor says, don't worry, it's fine, but then they come to you and you identify potentially there is something. What's the gap? Like, why are we hearing it's fine from one side, a medical side, and then a different sort of medical side is saying, actually, no, there's stuff we can do here.
Yeah, such an important question. I think that there are two elements to this.
Yeah.
One is, and I have loved my pediatricians. My kids' pediatricians are amazing and wonderful. What I also recognize is that they have to know so much about so many topics. Okay. They are in the care of newborn, literally visiting babies who are just born in the hospital through age 18, because I'm still taking my 14-year-olds to the pediatrician when something's wrong, right?
Yeah.
So they have to know everything from, you know, about every single vaccine, about stomach viruses and the flu and puberty and diaper rashes and allergies and, you know, and all the different things, right? And adenoids and tonsils and heart murmurs. Like they literally have to know about everything, right? New medications that come out and so many different things and so many different protocols that how are they supposed to be in-depth knowledgeable about motor development? Okay. They're not. And in saying that, they also have a very small snapshot of what your baby is able to do. When you come to a well checkup, your baby is either sleeping, they are crying, they are naked, they're not moving around on the floor because, like, are you putting your baby down on the floor with all the sick kids that are coming in that office, right?
Yeah.
You're holding your baby, or maybe they're on the exam table and they're mad because now they have stranger danger because they don't know the pediatrician, right?
Right.
So the pediatrician not only is getting, you know, is using what their basic tests of what they're supposed to do, but they're not really getting a great snapshot. Okay. And they're not looking at the number of babies that I do of like the nuances, right? So they're, I mean, yes, they're seeing a lot of babies, but not looking at the motor nuances of what somebody like me is trained to see, right? In the same way that I'm not trained to see the things that they're seeing, right?
Yeah.
So there's that element of it where it's, you know, their depth of knowledge in this specific area, even though they are very intelligent, very smart, but in a wide breadth of knowledge. Okay. And they're getting this very small snapshot of what your baby is capable of doing in the window that they have that time with them, which is very limited. Okay. And what they're talking about your sleep schedule and eating and weight gain and all these other things that their speech and all the things that they're looking at for your baby in this small window of what the well visit, you know, they have time for. Okay.
Yeah.
The other element is that the CDC made some changes a few years back, might have been 2022, if I remember correctly, that they eliminated a few key milestones from their developmental checklist. They eliminated crawling altogether from the checklist. They eliminated one direction of rolling, and they pushed walking. I believe, I have to look at it again, but I believe they pushed walking to like an 18-month milestone.
Why?
It's a really good question. And I've done a little research on this, and I'm not 100%. I'm not the CDC, so I can't really 100% speak to this. But it seems to me that they kind of were looking at like the average age that babies do things. And they're like, well, that has shifted, right? And so, and more and more babies are not crawling. And so is it necessary? Well, eventually they learn to walk. Eventually they will go on to do other things. So like, do we really need crawling as a milestone? Or if babies walk at 18 months, like, so what, right? If more babies are shifting when they're walking and they're, you know, going later and later, like, okay, you know, and the challenge that I have with that is a few things. And so wait, to backtrack for a second, is that there's a trickle down effect to that, right? So they just say like, oh, well, we're eliminating, it's just a guideline, right?
Yeah.
But now pediatricians are like, well, it's no longer a milestone. crawling's not a milestone. So if your baby's not doing that, then it's okay. It's not even a
more
milestone.
reason to say it's not.
So it's like kind of like it's twofold on the pediatrician side. Okay. From my end, there are multiple things that really irritate me with this, which is that one end is when babies aren't meeting milestones, there's always a reason. There's always a reason. If a baby, the typical progression of milestones is that they should be rolling in all directions. They should be crawling on all fours. They should be pulling to stand and cruising and walking within typical time frames. And that typical time frame is rolling is a 4 to 6 month milestone. Sitting would be 6 to 8, crawling 7 to 10, walking 10 to 15. And so if your baby is struggling to crawl and they're just either not moving at all, they're just sitting, they're not moving at all, they're stuck in army crawling, they're butt scooting, they're crawling asymmetrically, they have a hitched crawl with like one with a, I've seen babies like side sit with both legs to one side and they're like shuffling like that. There is a reason that they are doing those things. It is not because they just don't want to crawl. They're not having a, they're not what's the word? Our teenagers are what's the word I'm looking for?
6, 7.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Oh my God, monkeys all day long, right? They're not pushing back on us and being like, I'm going to show you, I don't want to crawl,
Yeah.
They're not, having attitude at us.
Yeah.
Okay. They're not, they are, they can't, they actually can't. That's really, and the reason I know that is because every single baby that I've worked with that presents in that way, when I work on it, all of a sudden they crawl on all fours. So if they're not, there's a reason. And just by ignoring it and saying, oh, they're just going to do so, it doesn't matter, it's not a milestone. Well, we're missing the underlying cause of why they're struggling to do that movement. They are not choosing to not move. They can't move. Okay. That's one element. And then when we also push off the milestone, I will say if a baby is following a typical progression, they are, we'll use walking as the example, because that's the one that's really been pushed to like 18 months. If a baby is, pulling to stand, they're cruising, they're pushing their push walker, they're pivoting between, and they don't walk at exactly 15 months and they walk closer to 16 months. I'm okay with that. Okay. It's not like this hard line of like 15 months and, oh, you're never going to be an athlete. You're never going to be able to join the soccer team if you don't walk like
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's not it. Okay.
Yeah.
But to me, again, it's what are we missing? Right. Then I have the 13, 14-month-olds who can pull to stand. They are not cruising. They cannot, the push walker, if they even try, it's going to slide out away from them and they have no control. Their knees are locking out. Their feet are, pronated. They're all different reasons, okay, that a baby might be struggling in this area. And if we say to parents, don't worry till they're 18 months, then a parent would come to me at 18 months and we might be back at a 12-month-old stage. And now it's going to take me, what are they not going to walk now till 20 months? Because it's going to take me time to really catch them up. And now that child can't go to the next level in daycare because that daycare room isn't going to allow them in until they're walking. Because I hear that from parents all the time. That they're like, my baby needs to walk so that they can go to this daycare class that allows only walkers, right? Because they can't have kids trampling. They have kids running and they're trampling over 17-month-old crawlers. So it's, to me, it's a disservice to just say like, we're not going to worry about it until 18 months. I'd rather you come to me and be like, listen, they are on track. Here are a few things you can do at home that we're going to get them, that we need to work on these muscle groups or these certain things or their balance. We're going to get them to there. And again, I'm not saying somebody has to come to me at 12 months for a non-walker. That's within the typical range. But if you're not seeing progress at 13, 14 months, we're seeing no progress. They're really struggling. Don't wait until 18 months to come,
Yeah.
And that's where I see the
totally
gap.
So I can't help but think that there's so much like fear mongering and like there's so much anxiety that parents or we are on the receiving end of so many messages of like, but I don't know. I think of like Dr. Becky and all these, like so many people are giving us advice on it, like, and just by exposing ourselves on social media or just to broader traditional media in general, that it's easy for a parent. I feel like you could either go all in and just be very obsessive about every possible thing about my kid. Are they right? Are they not right? Should I feed them this or not? Like go all the way. Or another, I think, understandable response is like, I'm going to just kind of lean back and trust that they will get where they need to go unless something is like glaringly obvious to me. But how do you kind of walk that line of, you're trying to help the kid be successful and you're not trying to create anxiety and fear.
Yeah.
But also, I think a lot of what we hear around milestones, and maybe even why the CDC was saying, let's remove this is creating a lot of anxiety. It makes me think a lot about, I don't know, like breast cancer screenings and get a mammogram, and when people actually should be doing that versus when the CDC says that we should be doing that. Like, I think a lot of this sort of early intervention, preventative medicine has a hard time knowing kind of like how to communicate.
Yeah.
Because we want to inform people, but we also don't want to cause a lot of fear and sort of unnecessary effort.
Yeah.
I don't know what you could say to that existential question of like, how do we worry, but not too much?
And I come at this, and you would probably say the same thing. I come at this as both the practitioner and the parent, because as a parent of 4 kids who have all different things and different needs, and some are great at certain things and have fallen behind in other things and, need this or that. I 100% see that, right? And you're like, how much do I need to intervene as a parent? And I'll even go as far to say my mom will say to me, like, why do people need you? And she was one who encouraged me to be a PT. And she was like,
thanks, Mom.
PT is great. But she thought, she was like, I don't know. I thought you were going to help like, knee replacements or whatever, like, or, or kids with more significant delays like Down syndrome or CP, where it's like a very obvious, like they need you. But when I work with babies who just aren't crawling, she's like, I don't know, but I didn't do anything to make you crawl. Right. And I'm like, I know. So here's what I'll say. And it's a really fine line. And I actually really try very hard to walk that line, toe that line very carefully on the Instagram.
Yes.
Page. I try. I'm probably not always successful at it. I try not to fearmonger.
Yeah.
And so there are
sure. Yeah.
And again, but it's not always easy, because in the same way that I'm saying, but this is important. Well, then some parents, and I've gotten some of those messages, be like, well, why are you making parents nervous about this? Like, well, my kid isn't. And so then I'll say, you know what? If this is stressful for you and this isn't for you, that's okay. You don't need to take my advice, right? Like, we could listen to the same things about don't feed your kids sugar and don't allow them around any plastic water bottles and don't allow them, like, you could, don't let them go in the sun and don't or make sure that they are in the sun. Like, there's competing things in everything. And sometimes if it's not the right messaging for you and your family and your parenting strategy, you are allowed to turn that off, right?
Yeah.
You could say, this isn't for me. And it's not good for, like, our family will be better for my mental health if I'm not overly focused on that. And that's okay. And to that I would say, if your child doesn't crawl or walks late, and there are some things that come up later that are a struggle, so you'll deal with them later. Right? Like, if this isn't something that you could deal with in the moment now, so that's okay. Right? What I'm finding, though, is the parents that are looking to me are the ones that feel like something's not right.
Yeah.
They feel like they are being brushed aside.
Yes. Yes. I totally get that.
What I'm finding is the people who are finding me are not the people that are like, don't tell me this, I don't want to know this. Right? Because it's their choice to follow me or not. Right? Yeah. And that's why I say, if, like, people will also say to me, like, I see that my niece isn't crawling. I really think I need to tell my sister-in-law about you and what you're, and I'm like, you can, but if this isn't, you could tell her to follow me so that she can make the decision about whether or not this is something that relates to her. You don't need to put what your things are on somebody else. Like, when people ask me that, and I get those questions a lot, like, how do I tell somebody else that they need you? And I'm like, maybe not your job, or you can, again, give your resource. And I say that in a nice way, because people are looking in a, they want to help way, right? Like, they feel like this is important, but I'm like, okay, so tell them to follow a few accounts. Like, hey, I saw something interesting. Send them over an interesting reel that you think might relate to them, and then let them decide if this is for them. Okay. Rather than being like, your baby sucks at crawling. And right. Like, we don't
totally.
Like, but the people who are finding me are the ones who are feeling dismissed. They feel like they know in their gut that something's not right. They want to help their baby and they don't know how.
Yes.
And so then I'm like, well, I don't want people to feel like and when they come to me and they join my membership, I tell them, no, you are 100% right. Let's look at, these are the reasons your baby's struggling. All of a sudden within weeks, we are seeing progress, if not days. And they're like, I feel so validated because I knew something was going on and nobody would help me. Nobody would point me in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, then it's worth it because those parents, like their baby's frustrated.
Totally.
And they can't get them to the daycare with the walk-in group and, all those things that they feel so frustrated about, but like, they're like, nobody's telling, everyone's telling me it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. I'm like, but they're like, but it's not fine. Something's not fine.
Yeah. The gaslighting can definitely be real. And I feel like medicine it's such a mess and everyone's well-intentioned. I do think that, we're caught between maybe I don't know if I should, but I blame all the insurance companies for like how they operate. But I feel like everything is so specialized that it's hard for something that's sort of in the gray area. This is true in medicine and probably in life, but the things that are in the gray area, it's hard to know how to find support for those, whether they show up with you and you're like, actually, this is fine. Or they're like, okay, no, there are a few things we can do and this will make life easier in the short term and probably the long term. I think that's great. And I think that a lot of, this is what like private practice is trying to do which is, again, the model is broken. Like we should all have access to these things, but thank you for giving people a place to go. Cause I very much identify with that parent who's like, I just sense something's not quite right. And where do my pediatrician in a nice way is maybe telling me like, don't worry, you're fine. But it would be nice to go somewhere to someone who like can spend a little bit more time and like help me see this with me. Amazing.
And I've had parents who like have messaged me and be like, my 7-month-old isn't crawling. What do I do? And I'm like, let them be on the floor. Like, you don't need it. Like I'll tell people like, I don't want you coming to me. Or there are some people who join my membership because they want to come to my group calls that I have and like get my sign off that their baby's okay. And that's also like, I'm like, you don't need me. But if you want me to tell you that, and I had somebody who joined for a year for my membership and she's like, I just want you to come and tell me that everything's okay. And if things are not, and she would come to all my calls and she'd be like, how does my baby look? And I'm like, he looks great.
Yeah.
Great. And that's what she needed for her peace of mind,
Wait, on this topic, I'm curious because you have exposure to thousands of parents. How are the parents? And how have you seen them kind of over time too?
Yeah. I actually love the parents who I work with, like the parents who have come to my membership. And it's been so interesting getting to know so many different people from, different countries and different personalities. I am finding that the parents who come, they are so grateful. Number one, they're like, thank you for your time. Thank you for helping me. There are definitely some who are more laid back, and there are definitely some who message me every single day. And, what do I do about this? Or is this okay? Or am I doing this right? Or what other tips do you have for me? And I tell them, like, never be afraid to ask me questions. Like, that's what I'm here for. That is my job, is to help you. And if you want to message me every day, I'll tell you the same thing every day. I'll say, you're good. Keep going with what you're doing. And I'll say that to them. I'll be like, I'm going to tell you the same thing, but you are welcome to ask me every day. And so there is a spectrum. I have the parents that are home full time that just want to work with their babies all day. I have the ones who are going to work and sometimes feel guilty that they're not working with their babies all day. And I'll say to them, there's no guilt here. There's no guilt. Okay. You do the best you can. If that means doing a little bit more on the weekends or a little bit at night or in the morning, well, find the time that works for you. This is about us figuring out what works for your family. And that's my goal. I really enjoy, that's actually my favorite part, and why the membership versus like just selling a course works more for me is I actually love the interaction with the families. I've worked with several in Australia. It's been like a fantastic experience. And even like learning about the healthcare system and all these things.
That's what I was curious, like just thematically, not to put words in your mouth. I was like, okay, since you've launched this, are parents just more stressed than they've been? Yeah. Is there more tension or is it not? Yeah.
I don't know. And again, it's so interesting to see, like, because it's the people who are finding me who definitely like are more proactive in what they want to do.
Yeah,
right.
That's
so
fair.
like, there are also the people who are choosing to take this on themselves. There are other people who are like, listen, I want to help my baby, but I'm not going to be the one who's going to do this. Like in the same way that I would be like, listen, I can help my kids with homework, but if they're really struggling, maybe I need to get a tutor because it's better for them to learn from a tutor than me do it. What I also find though is that I've actually, because I treat privately myself on less now than I've done before, but I actually find sometimes I'm making more progress virtually because they're doing a little bits every day versus like a once a week session.
Yeah.
And we're not also dealing with the stranger danger, or they didn't nap and now it's time for the session and they're crying because they didn't nap. Like the parent gets to do it more on a, let's just figure out what works in that day, because babies, as much as we want to schedule them, sometimes they wake up cranky.
Totally. Oh my God. Yes.
Eat well. Sometimes they didn't sleep well.
Totally.
Are more parents anxious? I don't know. I actually think more parents, they have more access to information. And I think that what I've seen is not as anxious, but more informed. And they want to then take things into their own hands more. They're like, I don't need to just wait for somebody to tell me here what to do or there. I can actually go and find somebody who's going to help me on my own. Maybe I've seen that shift a little bit more.
Yeah. Did some of this start from an experience you had with your own kids? Have you been gaslit by the medical system?
Or no? In some ways, yes. They're not specifically with motor development or in the development space, because I guess maybe that I'm very knowledgeable in.
Yeah.
But in a different area, I had my middle son. I call him my middle child, even though I have 4 kids, but he's my middle child. He's totally the middle child of our family for sure. And so my middle child, he was like 2.5. He had terrible colds. He was sick all the time. And I took him to the pediatrician, who I love and adore, and I love her, and she's been amazing. And we have like a great time together when I go to well visits. And I remember like saying to her something about like adenoids, tonsils. I didn't even know what that was. And she's like, well, is he sleeping at night? I'm like, I think so. And she's like, he doesn't need that. And my husband was one who was like, maybe we should take him to an ENT. And we took him to an ENT, and the ENT was like, his adenoids are huge, but he is sleeping. He doesn't have sleep apnea. And my husband was like, I think we should do it. And I was like, okay. We took out his tonsil. I mean, we shaved down the tonsils, took out his adenoids, changed his life, changed everything. And I was like, again, this goes back to like, you could love your pediatrician, but sometimes when cases are not like these black and white, like, are they telling you to go for a volunteer, surgery? Like, it is still a voluntary surgery. Are they the one telling you, like, you have to do this? Like, it's hard for them to tell everybody.
Do no harm is important.
Correct. There is that element of them to do no harm. Is it really helping them? Is this, are we putting them? But for me as the parent watching this kid, like to them, they're like, well, he has a lot of cold, so he's sick. So, but he's okay. So, but for me, dealing with this kid who is constantly sick, constantly miserable, mouth breathing all the time. And now I know more later on. I've learned more about this, how much mouth breathing can actually affect other things. I was like, well, I'm really glad we did this for him.
Yeah.
But, so it's not specifically in the development space, but there have definitely been other things like that in school, in other things where I've been like, I waited for the teachers to tell me this, this, and this. And you know what? What I really needed to do for my kid was completely different. And they weren't right. So I think that as parenting, being a parent now for 14 years and being told from schools, from doctors, from many other things, I've learned that as a parent, you do know your child's best. And a lot of times people try to tell you don't, that you're a crazy parent. I feel like I've had parents saying to me, I know I'm being a crazy mom, but, and I'm like, stop with that. Like we're almost telling parents that they're crazy. And I've said to them, you know your baby best. You know your baby best. And if something is bothering you, you have every right to seek out help until you are satisfied with the answer, even if that makes you a crazy parent.
Yeah.
Even the crazy mom, you're not a crazy, at the end of the day, it's your child. Nobody's going to care about your child the way you do. And even me, and I care a lot. Okay. You are your child's best and really only advocate.
Yeah.
Everybody else can want the best that's for your baby and want this and want that. But you're the one who actually sees the whole picture.
Totally.
Okay. And you might even, like, it's hard for everybody to know. Like, even my pediatrician was telling them, do they really know what that mouth breathing sounds like and how it's affecting all day what's like,
yeah.
I'm, they don't
Yeah.
see all day.
Yes.
And so you're the one that is seeing your child, even if you work and your baby's in daycare, no shame on those working parents. I was there too. Okay. It's, your child best. You're your child's best advocate. Own it. Own it. You are the team leader and everybody else works for you.
Yeah.
Be the team leader and don't apologize for it.
I love that.
Because I had a parent message me. This was years ago and it will stick with me forever. She said to me, I can't remember if it was after I already started the membership or before, but she said basically something to the effect of like, either I want to join your membership or I want to get PT, but I feel bad going behind my pediatrician's back. Do you think I have to tell them? And I was like, that is not what is happening here. I said, you are the one who gets to decide what services, what help, what support your baby gets, not your pediatrician. You can tell them, you cannot tell them, but you are the team leader. You're the captain.
Also, question the relationship if she feels like she has to go behind their
That's true, right? Yeah. Like, are you feeling shamed? Like, you have choices too. You can go to somebody else.
Yeah, totally. I wanted to really quickly ask about so we have Allison who was like, I know I'm going to want to have these kids. I want to be working, but I also want to be a mom and I want to like be able to be present in these situations. You did the scaling back and then you went on like full on launched a business, which is growing and successful. Like, how do we feel now do you feel stretched across everything? Do you feel like you actually have more control given how you've set up your work life? Like, I'm curious how this all comes together.
It's both. It's both. I think when you wear so many hats, you always feel stretched, no matter, right? I could spend my whole day doing laundry and unloading and reloading the dishwasher and preparing dinner and going food shopping and all those things. I could fill my day with all of that, right?
Yeah.
But and and also now that my kids are older, they don't go to bed until like 10:30, 11 o'clock. Like I'm like in bed and my kids are sitting on my bed. I'm like, is everyone going to sleep yet? Come on bed. And like last time my daughter at 10:15 is like, can you come sit on my bed? I want to tell you about my day. Cause like she had to decompress first from her, her day. She had to decompress, do her homework. And then at 10 o'clock, she's like, but I want to tell you that like this class sucked today. And I'm like, oh, I have to have energy now. Now is the time I have to have okay. Right. Yes, we'll bring it. So we're always going to feel stretched and stressed of pulling that. But I love what I do. I love that I set up this business. I am so like, I look back and I'm like, I can't believe I took that leap and did this because it allowed me to definitely have my own schedule. I work very hard, but it's on various times. Like we'll work on a Sunday or I'll work at 9 p.m. or I'll work at 4 a.m. or I'll do it during the day. Like I can work on my own schedule, which is amazing. I love what I've built that I can reach parents from everywhere. Like I just love that I've created something that I never thought was possible from a PT who's an in-person hands-on job. Like my parents never dreamed that this was going to be my healthcare trajectory. When they told me like, oh, that's a good, Jewish job. And so I never would have thought that, but I took it to the next level where I guess that, bringing it back was always being a little bit of a go-getter, always having a job, always being somebody that valued working hard and having that work ethic brought it to this place now where it was like, okay, the school setting, I was getting tired. I was getting, burnt out from that setting. I was struggling with my kids. And I was like, what else could I do? I don't want to give it all up, but what else can I do? And it actually brought me to this new level of something that I love that much more and is giving me access to so many more families in such a rewarding way.
Yeah. What do you tell yourself now when it's hard? When you're like, and I feel like now you're at a place where it's like, at least out as an outsider, it's like, it feels like it's working. I'm sure on the inside, it's like, is it working?
It's working, but every day is
what do you say when you're like, I don't know?
I know. And you know what? We're always going to say that because running a business is never going to be, it's never going to run itself. As much as social media tells you that business is going to run itself, it does not run itself. Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody who's selling courses, telling you that they're making money by telling you how to make money. That's how they're making money, is telling you that they can make you rich with like one viral post. Okay. So this is how they're getting rich. They're not actually running like another business that they're, so every day is work, right? It's how do I grow and how do I reach more parents and how do I tell them that I can help them, right? And so what I try to tell myself is I really love being an entrepreneur. If something's not working, I try to tell myself, other big companies could not. I look at somebody like Spanx or, other businesses. It's not an upward trajectory. It's not a straight upward, line on a graph. I am sure that there have been many downward spirals and upward movements and down again. And if you listen to their stories, they usually say that they got to a point where they thought they were going to lose everything or that they were going to give up. Like most successful entrepreneurs, you do not hear them say everything just worked from the minute I decided to launch a business. And I can't believe that everything is just so successful. And I'm just amazing. Like they never say that. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of luck. There's connections that you have to make and building it. And even if you grow at one point, then all of a sudden something was working and it's not working anymore. And then you have to pivot. Coca-Cola, I'm sure, came out with many flavors that didn't work. Okay. And they put a lot of money behind it, a lot of advertising dollars and a lot of R&D, and it didn't work. And then they had to pivot. So I try to go into that mindset of other businesses could not have possibly had a straight upward trajectory. And so on days that I feel like I'm not there, that's what I kind of try to tell myself.
Yeah. Wise. Okay. On this, we're going to stay on this train of wisdom because we like these closing questions that kind of are on this theme. So wisdom to your new mom self. So think back to, oh my God, you had twins. Your new mom self with twins.
It's a crazy time.
Is there something that now that you would say to her, knowing what you know?
Yeah. I think it goes back to the advocating part. I really, you don't know what you don't know. And I think as a new mom, everything feels new. This is territory that you don't know and you shouldn't know because you haven't done it before. Okay. You also, with each child that you have to get to know that child, right?
Yeah.
What does strep look like in this child? Because it's different than in that child. Right.
Yeah.
And there have been times where like my pediatrician now, after I've already gone down that route, and I'll come in and be like, I'm telling you, this is strep. I'm telling you. And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, just test them. And, oh, it's positive. And they're like, and my pediatrician will be like, well, if you're here, I know that there's something real because, because you just know, because you develop you have to become experienced. And anything else you do, you don't become an expert without having experience behind you.
Yeah.
Right. So as a new mom, don't feel like you're supposed to know everything. You can't possibly, because you've never done this before. Even if you've worked with kids like I have. Okay. Even if you're a nurse, so it's your kid, you have to learn them. But with that being said, as I tell the parents that are in my membership, don't be afraid of being that mom. There's a stigma of being that mom asking questions. And I would say to myself, going backwards, I think that we're also trained. I think even more so girls are trained to be like nice and appreciative.
Totally.
And
don't
not
want to be
step
difficult.
on people's toes, right? And you don't want to annoy people. And if you call the pediatrician or if you call this one, you call that, you're going to be annoying. Or if you ask them, you know what? We are in an age where we do have Google, we have ChatGPT, we have access to telehealth. We have to, if you don't want to call your pediatrician again, then find some telehealth thing that's super cheap and call them. Like, get the answers that you feel that you need to give yourself peace of mind. ChatGPT is not the answer to everything. Don't use that as your doctor. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, if you're nervous to ask, like, say, who should I ask for this? Who should I, what blog is good? Like, try to find the resources that are good for you to find the information. Because you don't have to ever feel like you're being that mom. Be bold. And because at the end of the day, nobody actually cares. So what? So you go home at the end of the day and they're like, this mom called me 3 times and it's so annoying.
Yeah.
Okay. They still have their job. They still got paid and they're still going home and having a nice dinner and deal with their own stresses of their life. They're not really thinking about you.
Yeah.
If your worst fear is being annoying, so what?
I know. I was just thinking, be that mom.
Be the mom.
Go ahead, be that mom.
Be that mom. Yeah, people said, like, I still think when you're working with schools and things like that, you want to build good relationships and you don't want to like call teachers screaming at them or anything like that. Develop good relationships, but do it in a way that's always going to, be to the benefit of your child because that's what they need you for.
You gotta advocate. Totally.
Yeah.
Well, so closing question. Speaking of children, your 4 children might one day listen to this, or maybe they're listening live when this is out. Is there anything that you'd like to say to them?
A million things. what I try to do as a parent, and it's very, and I think that this is our age of parenting that is very challenging, which is I really try hard to tune into each of my kids' needs. Mm-hmm. And that as a parent, I'm sometimes successful at, and sometimes I'm an epic failure at. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to cater to each child does need something different, whether it's one of my children hates when I hug them and one tells me that I don't hug them enough. Right. And they're like, you're always hugging the other one and you're never hugging me. And I'm like, I literally gave you 12 hugs today. Like, what are you talking about? You know, like it's some of them want me to talk to them about their whole day every minute, the minute that they get home and need to text me all day about what goes on in their day. And others, as I told you, my daughter was like, I need time and I need space. And then I want to talk to you at 10 p.m. And I try hard to mold myself as best I can to what they need. But it's also, as a parent, as a person, I'm a person myself, that is very hard and challenging to do on a daily basis all the time. Yeah. Right. Yes. And so I do my best. I do my best. There are some days I'm successful. There are some days I'm a failure. Not a failure. Probably I think I'm a failure. Probably they don't even like notice and they're like, you know, that was annoying, you know, whatever. But like they don't even probably process it the same way that I do. And so I say for both the parents who are listening to this and maybe my own children today or one day, is that we do our best as parents, and I really do try to tune into what their needs are, study with them in the way that works for them, or not study, or give them the independent. Like it's so hard to know as a parent. Like, when do you push them and when do you support them? Yeah. Too much support doesn't give them enough independence. Too much, you know, giving them independence feels like they're not supported. And so there's a constant in my own brain of, and I think this to myself every single day, like, you know, I listen to somebody like Barbara Corcoran. She's somebody I think is an amazing role model. And I think she's like one of 9 children. And I think I've heard her say, I think so. We lived in like a 3-bedroom house, you know, and she'll say that her parents, like, you know, they had to take care of themselves, but her mother was so supportive. And I'm like, how do I be that parent that, like, not that my child has to be Barbara Corcoran, but like that gives them what they need so that they can rise to their fullest potential. Yeah. I don't know as a parent what each child, like, what am I supposed to give them to make them the best? And I try every day to do that. And I hope I'm doing that for them.
Yeah. The trying is key. And I also think helpful to have your kids see you trying. Like, so they know. They're not like, mom's phoning it in. She always phones it in. Like, like they know we're trying. I think that's really helpful. I will voice
that to them. I'll say, I'm trying so hard. Or, you know, today I didn't, you know, listen to that because I was talking to your sibling who really needed me in that moment. And I appreciate that you waited. And I know now you don't want to talk to me because you're tired. But like, if you want to, I'm here. And if you want to talk to me tomorrow, I'm also here. And that's fine too. Like, I try to tell them, like, I'm not perfect, that I can't, you know, I'm stretched also. Then I'm not going to always be there the minute that they need me because I can't always be there the minute they need me. So I try to voice it as much as I can. Yeah. You know, and explain that.
Yeah. Well, Allison, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us, with your children too.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's so fun chatting.
Yes, likewise. Tots on Target. We'll share all the deets in the episode description. But thank you for the work you do and helping all these parents and these cute little kids.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, that was fascinating. Let me call V. V, hello. Is it possibly you?
Is it me? Is it you?
Did I call the right number?
Is this actually me or
is this ChatGPT? I'm so excited.
Honestly, could be.
How are you doing? You're surviving a lot of different things right now.
We're surviving the I was going to say the Great Depression. That's not what I meant. The Great Plague. I mean, maybe a little bit of both.
Which plague? But plague number 5.
We're inventing a new one.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. How are you?
Well, I'm great. I just finished up with Dr. Allison Mell, who allowed me to call her just Allison. And she does this Tots on Target, like PT program, but it's like virtual membership community around
cool.
The problem being solved is sometimes you go to a the mainstream medical system isn't always there to support sort of the in-between of, is my kid crawling at the right time or not? And are they walking at the right time or not? And sometimes clear-cut cases where like, actually like they're a little bit behind, we need help. So she they have like remote services to make that way more accessible and easier for everybody. And it's also for cases where it's like, my doctor said they're fine, but I don't really, I feel like something's not quite right. And like also a resource for that person in that circumstance. But most relevant, given what we were just talking about, was I was talking about her like journey to getting to what she's doing now. And so she originally going to college, like really loved art history, and her parents were like, yes, but you also need to do something more practical. I don't know if they use the
more
word
real,
practical, but like, what are you going to do for work? And so she ended up going into physical therapy and going through sort of the medical-ish light version of what it takes to become professional PT. And so she was working as a physical therapist in schools / specifically always for kids. And she was scaling back in a part-time way as she had her children. She has 4, started with twins, and then had the other 2 all within like 5 years. And what she said, we landed on this a couple of times. She was like, it's just the kids get sick all the time. And so that was like one of many reasons why it made sense for her in the way that she could to scale back and go very, very part-time during the early years. So something you're experiencing firsthand as well.
I was going to say, I don't even know if I could relate. Yeah. Wow.
Yes. And then pivoted into, and certainly not, as she admitted, like not seamless, like it took a while to figure out like what the need was that she was trying to meet, but was very interested in kind of making PT more accessible and virtual. And this was like, just as, the internet as we know it today, or specifically the social media side of what we know of as social media wasn't really there. There weren't people like posting about kid progressions and like what crawling looks like, and when you might want to like check with a professional about whether crawling is happening or not. So they just started like posting content, and kind of she originally had a business partner, and then they sort of parted ways, but remained close friends about what the model was going to be. And eventually landed on this like membership model where you get access. It solves like so much of the medical system that's just well-intentioned, but increasingly
not
broken,
executed.
And I blame insurance, and we should get an insurance person on here to like tell me that's maybe not true, but
it is
just how like the barrier to entry for help, that's not like kind of emergency level help, is so high, where it's just like, I just feel like there might be something else that we need to do, or a little extra support that we need, and just how hard it is to get that sort of in between level of support. And so what she found her way to was this in the modern day age where you can do all these things remotely, is kind of skipping the lines essentially and giving people access to professionals on these things around milestones. I did, because I'm me. I was like, but what about all the anxiety that we're creating about like, okay, is my kid crawling now, not crawling? Like, is this really a problem? Like, eventually they'll crawl, right? And just how much parents are just by existing, if we want to find it, and if we want, you don't even have to look that hard to have things that suggest, I don't know, is that just a bug bite, or is it a tick, or is it Lyme disease?
And it's so easy to spiral and find the things that validate your fears.
Yes.
And it's also easy to find the things that invalidate them. But
yeah, so we talked about that a bit, and she was saying how she's like, I totally get it. She's like, what I love, she was like, my mother sometimes is like, should you have a business? should people be going to? And she was like, so in a nice way, meaning that she's aware of what's going on. She's not like blindly being like, I don't care, I'm just going to scare people to come to me. She was like, it's mostly people that feel like there's something a little bit off, or again, pediatrician says some like additional support might help. Here's a resource for you. But also the people that are like, I just feel like something's not quite right. And we talked about the importance of kind of, it's a balance, but like knowing when to be, we use this term, like be that mom, like be the extra advocate who's like, I just feel like something's off. And how easy, she's like, it's a lot of parents that are potentially brushed aside saying, don't worry, it'll be fine. And then they go to her and they were like, here's some things we could do to help them. Like they are crawling in a funky way, or like there's maybe something going on and we can help. So, and she was like, if it's not for you, it's not for you. And encouraging people to like turn it off essentially if it's creating fear. But mostly it seemed like people that reach her she eases their fear. And they're there intelligently, not out of desperation, like, or they're coming to have a sincere concern, like finally addressed and discussed in a way. Like, it's oversaid, but a little bit of like, are we being gaslit in one area and we come to this other place where it's a little bit more, the concerns are held a little bit more.
I love that.
Yeah, but it is tricky, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, how do we, she even said that I need to go see what this means, but she was like, the CDC actually supposedly like got rid of definitive milestones for like when a kid, quote, when's typical to crawl. And I was like, I want to know why. And we shouldn't 100% know why. But I was like, I wonder if that was also just creating, in the way that you're not supposed to get a mammogram until a certain age and then they move the age up. Like all of these sort of preventative things where there's so much, are we creating more concern and it's kind of the false positive kind of thing?
Yeah.
Or are we and making it harder for people to get the care that they need? So anyway, we talked about light subjects like that.
I love it. Damn. What a cool, also like totally someone I would never, like, that's a field that I would never have like known about, or being able to like customize it into a way that works for her. Like, I don't know. This is a new field that I'm not familiar with. So that's very cool. And
yeah,
I'm assuming that her work feels very like impactful, being able to see like that the direct impact and change, and like just to feel validated as a parent feels so good. So it's so cool to be able to be the one to do that for someone.
Well
and
said.
like to, like that is what a gift for both parties.
Yeah,
like
totally.
There's, the relief of being acknowledged by a professional in their field and being like, you're not crazy. Like that in and of itself just feels so good.
Yeah.
And so that's really special.
Yeah. Aww. No, it's true. Very well said. I totally agree. Like it hasn't come up for me firsthand as a parent that much yet.
Sure.
This, like,
yeah,
I
same.
feel like something's off, but I could imagine that will happen one day and over time in different ways. And I think we're obviously very lucky in that we have family members that are pediatricians. So I kind of like delegate that anxiety to them. And if they're not worried, I'm not worried.
Hey,
but
you would just say something, don't have right?
Yeah. But yeah. So Allison, Tots on Target, and cool that it is remote and so accessible like that.
Yes.
If you are worried, that makes life so much easier.
It's fantastic. That is, I know, a blessing that came from a terrible COVID time is like the virtual accessibility of things. It's a game changer. Like there's some, downsides to it of like is impersification and like the impersonal.
Impersonal.
Like impersonal. I am
like not personal.
Impersonal. Yeah. Is that a thing?
No.
What would it should be. What would be the word
like
for that?
It's not
the lack of
something that's doesn't feel personal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, meaning like scaled generic care that's not personalized. Yeah.
But so word. Yeah. Ooh. Mad libs.
Catered, tailored care.
Yeah. But like there's something, I don't know, spectacular and awesome about like, also you are not limited to a pool of people that are just in your like geographical sphere. Like that's so cool that someone who's feeling lost and scared and like, I know something is wrong and I don't know how to do anything about this, who could live in like bumfuck nowhere.
She said it's global. Totally. She was like
that's incredible.
Most of the parents are a similar profile of parent where they're just like, I'm worried. And then it made me think more broadly about like yes, worried for our kid, but also how much worry parents carry and how to what you said even better before this, of like how nice it is to feel like that concern is validated as opposed to dismissed. And it's hard to talk about that because you also don't want, I have like doctors in my head being like, well, if you want to find something wrong, you will find something wrong. And yet there is an instinct, and there are certainly times where it's almost like, it doesn't mean you need like dramatic intervention, but you just need someone to sit with you and like try to see what you're seeing and say, I see what you're seeing and I think it's fine. Or I see what you're seeing and it's nothing horrific, but like we could do some things if you really wanted to or not. And they would probably be fine anyway. So I just think there's so much, I don't like that it gets pushed back on typically the mother who's like,
right.
And we did talk a lot about like how people don't want to be that mom. It don't be difficult. You don't want to like
taking up the space.
Yes, exactly. And how to know when to do. Yeah. I feel like I sat on both, as I was talking to her, I sat on like both sides of that conversation. One being like, are we stirring the pot and creating anxiety? Or second, or I am the system that's saying like, just accept what the classically in the medical system just feels male to me. What the masculine medical system is like, don't be, unless it checks all these boxes on my charts and this data says blah blah, like you need to not worry. So, and yet we still worry. So I don't know, I think that's it's complicated, and I think point being, good to have a resource if you need the resource, and let's go leverage it when you need it. Yes. Anyway, good convo. You're a hero. Go keep everyone from not getting sick.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm doing a good job of that. Love you.
I love you too. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode and we can reach even more rock stars like you. The Mothers is a production of Backline Media, shining a light on those who carry the team.